Hello, welcome to the special series ETBFSI Digital Banking Dialogue. And in this episode, I have here with me Ganesh Ananthanarayanan, the CEO of Airtel Payments Bank, and Mr. Riddhi Datta, the Regional Sales Director, ASEAN and India at Backbase. Mr. Ananthanarayanan and Mr. Datta, glad to have you.
Good afternoon. Hi, Riddhi. Hi, Amol. Glad to have this conversation.
Thank you. Thanks, Ganesh. Good to see you, and good to see you, Amol, once again.
Great. So to begin with, gentlemen, we have been running this series on specifically digital banking dialogues with a lot of CIOs, CDOs, and COOs from the BFSI sector and trying to understand how they're seeing the trends, what are kind of adoptions they're making to achieve the next level of growth, and how are they scaling themselves. So to begin with, obviously, we do understand that specifically in last 18 months, the BFSI sector has aggressively adopted technologies, and they're still going really high on that. So considering all these backgrounds, I will come to you, Ganesh, first. And, obviously, I will take the same question with Riddhi also later. So my question to you is, how do you see the kinds of digital revolution that you're seeing in the banking space right now?
Yeah, thanks, Amol. I'll be happy to sort of give my thoughts around it. At Airtel Payments Bank, we are very, very excited about the role which technology can play, in changing the lives of customers, especially in helping them easing their financial transactions. For us, we are looking at this in two buckets. One is for customers like all of us who are digitally savvy, the need to have a trusted brand, a trusted interface where you could do all your transactions in a very safe and secure manner. I think there is a lot of development which is happening, not just by us, but across various organizations on building interfaces which consumers trust and which emphasize a lot on security and ease. I think that's one customer base we are looking at, and there's a lot of work happening on that front. The second place where there is a lot of work happening is in making sure that we use technology to drive financial transactions for consumers in rural, for consumers in unbanked markets, where potentially the nearest ATM is more than 5, 10, 15 kilometers away. I think some of the digital products which NPCI has launched, things like APS, is actually revolutionizing the way in which customers do financial transactions. We ourselves have, close to 30 million monthly transacting users, more than 2/3 of them in rural, who use our BC agents to open a bank account, deposit cash, withdraw cash, do remittances, and so on and so forth. So to me, I think these are two clear customer cohorts where technology is actually playing a very, very big role in revolutionizing the way in which customers adopt digital and embrace digital. One, for customers like all of us, who have a smartphone, who have an app, we do the transactions ourselves. The second, for customers in low-income areas in rural, through an assisted mode, where they basically go to a BC agent or a retailer whom they trust and do a transaction in an assisted mode in a fully, again, digital and secure manner. So I think these are the two key areas of focus I see a lot of us sort of focusing on. Airtel Payments Bank specifically is very passionate about solving the problem for these two sets of cohorts. And that's where a lot of investments are happening as we go forward.
Okay, noted your points, Ganesh, and I think that was good to begin with. I will come to you, Riddhi, and you heard, Ganesh talking about, the challenges in the rural and how the, digital can be an enabler for the banks to tap that market, and how are they looking at this space? What is your view? How do you see the kinds of digital revolution that is happening in the banking space right now?
Yeah, I think very good points mentioned by Ganesh, especially the one around, I was just noting down some of the points he was mentioning. He opened up saying, changing lives of customers in helping them with their day-to-day transactions. And I think that's what a bank is expected to do, right? I mean, customers approach a bank or any financial institution for their day-to-day, just for some help in their day-to-day financial transactions. And if a bank can do that in an intuitive and secure manner, as Ganesh mentioned, I think problem solved. But the only other area that I would like to highlight upon on top of what Ganesh has mentioned is, apart from financial inclusion, which is where Airtel Payments Bank and the likes have really gone very deep into, the other trend that I'm really seeing picking up very actively, especially within India, is how are we treating the SMEs and the merchants. And I think even there, the payments banks, the likes of Airtel, is playing a huge role, in terms of allowing the merchants to open up current account, savings account, allowing the merchants to facilitate multiple types of payments. And that's where payments banks have their roots, right? Whether it's you're talking about salary payments, whether you're talking about bill payments, or you name it. And also allowing merchants and SMEs that entire collections piece also. I'm not talking about loan connections, I'm talking about cash collections here. So that is another very big area where if I'm talking only about India, there's a huge amount of investment happening today. You name any bank in the country, starting from the biggest to starting from the most niche bank, they are running up an initiative, what they loosely call as the SME digitization initiative. Some of them are looking at more standardized offerings, some of them are looking at more platform offerings, but there is an initiative that is running. So I think apart from the financial inclusion space, where, and some of the numbers that Ganesh mentioned are quite nice and quite good in terms of 30 million transactions that are happening. Was it 30 million transactions, Ganesh, or 30 million customers?
Transacting users.
Transacting users, right? So you talk about 30 million
monthly transacting users
per month, which is quite a huge number. But that's the other thing that I just wanted to add, which is how are we bringing in merchants and SMEs also into the ecosystem, and not just focusing on the end consumers, but also the other side of the spectrum. So I think that's the major thing. Obviously, as we go along in the next few minutes, we'll talk about how technology is playing a role and where technology as an enabler is coming in. But broadly, Amol, this is what I am seeing from a macro perspective.
Okay, noted your points from you as well, Rithi. And let me move ahead, or let me put it in this way, that let me change the gears and let me get into some specifics or some niche areas. So Ganesh, I will come back to you and try to understand from you. Obviously, the payment bank started with a whole digital model, or they had a advantage of starting the whole digital entity altogether, because that's what the regulators were looking for. That's what the whole ecosystem was looking for. So when I'm heading towards the specific points, I would like you to tell us the base of the payment bank is always digital. It was digital. It is going to be digital. So what are the new layers of digital now you are adding going ahead, specifically after the pandemic?
Yeah, so Amol, I think that's a great question. I think the pandemic, while it did bring in a lot of pain, I do believe that it's forced customers to really adopt digital, for almost everything which they want to do. What we've done really, Amol, is to look at the monthly household basket and the way in which customers spend, the salary which sort of comes in. We also looked at the savings patterns of customers. We also looked at, other financial services, including things like insurance and lending. And what we have done is we have mapped each of these use cases to see how is it that we as Airtel Payments Bank can offer them a service which ensures that they're able to complete the transaction in a very seamless manner. Be it in terms of paying merchants, as Riddhi mentioned, how do you make sure that in a contactless manner, we can actually pay the merchant in a very, very efficient manner? I think that's, one aspect. Be it in terms of, making sure that you could pay all your, monthly bills, be it your EMI payments, be it your credit card payments, be it your, education fees, be it doing a FASTag recharge, all of that done in a very, very, digital manner, I think is the second bucket. The third bucket really is in terms of ensuring that we offer a full suite of financial services products for customers, which meets their requirements. And we almost try to sort of see if we can curate the products in a manner in which, we show them the relevant set of, products, which is exciting for them. So I think, and hence, offering them, a set of insurance, loan products, and potentially, mutual funds, which is hopefully going to come in a few weeks, from now. We've got, for example, gold as a savings option, available on our digital platforms. So those are some of the, offerings we have for customers so that they can, in a safe and secure manner, do all of those transactions, at the tip of the, using their fingertips and using their smartphone. So that's really, Amol, where a lot of investments are going behind. While there are these use cases, I would want to emphasize that, there are three other platforms on which significant investments are happening. One is to make sure that customers, have a great experience, on the digital interfaces they have, be it assisted, be it self. And we, go very, very hard on ourselves to ensure that the experience which customers have is flawless. And that's, I think, a lot of work which is happening and investments happening in ensuring that we continue to up the bar on the experience. The second area really is in using AI/ML, because there is a lot of data available. There is an opportunity for us to actually use that in a very efficient manner. Of course, also in a very responsible manner, so that we value the relationship which customers have with us, using the data to actually almost recommend what kind of products they should buy, which works very well for them. I think that's the second area, where there is a lot of emphasis and focus. The third area where there is, a lot of focus, Amol, and, I'll touch upon the point which Riddhi mentioned, in terms of the merchant ecosystem. I think India has more than 60 million SMEs, and possibly 20 to 25 million of them have a QR code. Possibly 10 million of them have a current account or a GST relationship. So the penetration of some of these products is still very, very low, and possibly a few million of them having a POS terminal. So the penetration of all of these products is very, very low. And there is a huge opportunity for us to really, really build on this merchant platform, and use technology to really ensure that the transactions can happen in a seamless manner. So I think those are three additional platforms which I would sort of mention in addition to the three use cases we are working on.
Okay, I think very, very valid points, Ganesh. I will tweak the question slightly to you, Riddhi, which I asked to Ganesh, because we are talking some specifics here. So, being an IT player, how do you look at, these specific points that Ganesh mentioned, specifically where the payment banks are heading? Also, when you look at the payment banks or small finance banks or, the cooperative banks, they are now want to play absolutely a niche area going ahead and try to grab some specific points also apart from what they're doing. Maybe it's mutual funds, maybe it's gold. So how do you look at this technological shift in this payments banks or small finance banks?
So Amol, if you, and I was just looking at the Airtel Payments Bank just this morning before this discussion, and I saw, as a part of the app screenshot, it was there on the website, they have this very interesting thing called as home loans. And I was like, it's a payments bank. How can you give a loan as per the, but that's where the ecosystem, and I think Ganesh was talking about the ecosystem is coming in very, very handy. And that's where I think within an India context, the payments bank are taking that step even ahead of the small finance banks. Small finance banks, without no offense, I have some good friends in there as well, but the small finance banks are getting somewhere constrained between, am I a tier one bank or am I looking at, a specific area around lending or deposits or whatever it is. Payments bank, because the area of operations has already been restricted by RBI, they can really innovate around that, right? So whether you look at Airtel Payments Bank, and all of us, I think 90% of Indian customers are using Airtel somewhere in their lives, right? Either a prepaid or a postpaid or a broadband or a DTH. End of the day, we land up on that app. And once we are on that Airtel app, whenever we are doing transactions, the default option that comes as is go through that Airtel Money or the Airtel Payments Bank thing, right? So the point that I'm trying to highlight here is what Airtel, the likes of Airtel has done very well is bring in their larger ecosystem, bring in their larger conglomerate, and allow customers like you and me to do everything from one single place. Ganesh was talking about mutual funds. I think he mentioned about insurance also. And I've seen quite a few of them outside India also, where one single app to manage everything for you, except for probably, if you're going for different high ticket loans or a working capital loan, let's keep that aside. But apart from that, day-to-day financial transactions, the entire ecosystem being orchestrated in one single place. And I think I was talking on the same panel, Amol, if you remember, to some other where I took that example. It's outside India. I took the example of Grab. Ganesh, just to reiterate what I was telling, that Grab started off, as we all know, as a cab sharing, like Uber, right? Then they moved to food delivery, and there's this well-documented use case that they have in Indonesia, where they started doing food delivery for the roadside, food shops. Now, once they started doing that, they also tied up with OVO, which is a larger lending fintech, and OVO started getting that data. And you spoke about, I'm tying back to all the points that you mentioned. OVO got the data about that particular shopkeeper. Using that data, OVO gave a line of credit to the shopkeeper. And using that, the shopkeeper moved her accounts online, moved to a larger space and all of it. And that is a real power where technology comes in and plays the role. It's not about, again, it's not just about having a good accounting system. It's not just about having a good front end. It's about technology or platforms acting as that orchestrator, acting as that aggregator, which can tie together all these different moving pieces that are there, right? So I think that has been my single biggest takeaway, how technology has played a very important role in the last few years of moving beyond trying to solve point solutions to look at things more holistically and saying that, okay, I cannot solve everything for you, but I can be that one single platform, that one single layer where I can aggregate and orchestrate everything for you and your end customers. So I think that's my broad takeaway in terms of what I have been seeing, not just in my stint at Backbase, but over the last 5 years with previous organizations. And that's been a common theme, Amol.
Okay. I think, yes, I remember that Grab example. I think it's a valid one. And I think the same kind of partnerships, in fact, happening, at a global level now. Pine Lab recently acquired another company from Singapore on the same matter, and they're trying to do a lot of partnerships there. So, in fact, my next question, Ganesh, is specifically about the partnerships. And as banks, the financial institutions are growing aggressively into digital, the most important thing they're doing is with their partnering with the other financial institutions, and not just fintechs. When we say about the back end or the front end operations, but also with the e-commerce companies, whether it's Flipkart, Amazon, Swiggy, something like that. And one banker actually told me that I want to provide a Netflix like an experience, to my customers. So I would like you to tell us, what kind of partnerships one you are having with such, partners, maybe fintechs or e-commerce companies, and how it actually helping you to scale up or to achieve your goal.
Partnerships for us is our core DNA. And that's the DNA of Airtel and Airtel Payments Bank. And everything we do it, with the spirit of saying that there are some things which we own and which we bring to the table, which is a large customer base. As I said, 30 million monthly transacting users. The total number of customers is several times that number. We have customers coming in and doing multiple transactions with us. We have almost close to $25 billion or close to $30 billion of annualized throughput or GMV happening on our platforms. We've got a large retailer and merchant ecosystem, close to 500,000 BC agents available with us who are well trained and who do financial transactions for us. So we've got a very strong digital and physical distribution network. We've got a large customer base. And we really use technology to simplify lives of customers. So that's what we bring to the table. We do recognize and acknowledge that there are several others, who have done very well, who understand their category very well, and who can bring their products, available to us. There's no point in us actually wanting to reinvent the wheel and wanting to do something which someone has already done and mastered. And that's the spirit of partnership, Amol, we actually sort of look at, and want to, ensure that we sort of work with. Regulatorily, as Riddhi, mentioned, we aren't allowed to lend. And hence, we work with partnership with a lot of banks or NBFCs, where they have access to our customers and they can provide a loan module. At no point in time do we believe that we can be the manufacturers of all of these products. Going back, I think we start with the key stages which customers want. They want to transact, they want to insure themselves, they want to save, they want to borrow, and they want to make payments. Yeah. Now, in each of these, we believe that there are some things which we bring to the table, as I explained, the customer base, the platforms, technology as a strength, the physical footprint. The fulfillment of all of these is done by partnerships. So we've got, partnerships with close to 180 large corporates, which vary across NBFCs, MFIs, e-commerce companies, traditional banks, and so on and so forth, where we offer cash management as a service, where their customers can come to our platform, deposit cash physically if they want to, or come to our app and pay their EMI bill payments. And that's a huge convenience we sort of offer, and there's significant value we generate out of that. That's one example. Similarly, we've got close to 1,000 plus SMEs, and that number is actually growing at a very, very strong, base, where we actually offer a salary solution for their employees, and sort of work with them in partnership to sort of get stuff going. Similarly, as far as financial services are concerned, be it insurance, be it lending, and as we go forward, potentially mutual funds and stuff like that, we work with a lot of partners in the BFSI space, where we take their products, expose it to our customers, and make sure that there is value which is given out. So Amol, partnerships really is our DNA. We've sort of been working with that philosophy for the last 4.5 years since the bank has been in inception. That's what we believe we will sort of want to do. We do have very close strategic partnerships with a few, because we do believe that, any partnership needs to be of strategic in nature. It needs to be built over several years, and there has to be immense value for both the partner and for us. And that's really the philosophy with which we've built our business over the last few years.
Very valid points, Ganesh, and in fact, very strong points. Good statement that, let's, take the products which is manufactured by others, and let's not waste time manufacturing all the products. And partnership is our DNA. Very, very valid and strong points, Ganesh. So Riddhi, let me bring you here, and you also sometime back your example of Grab. We discussed that. and the partnership model, as you said, as you heard, has been growing aggressively in Indian banking uh, ecosystem. My question to you is, how do you see this partnerships model shaping up specifically in the Indian banking and the financial system on the background of tech? And is this partnership model the future of Indian banking industry or the financial industry?
Probably yes. To your last question, Amol, that is the partnership model the future? Probably yes. And you don't have to go very far away, go very far back into the past.
Right.
Last 6 months itself, if we have been talking about digital banks and neobanks. India, we know that India does not have a proper regulatory policy for neobanks, but all the new so-called neobanks that are coming up in India, if you see, the only route that they're going is the partnership route. Right? They're not saying that we are coming to the market and offering a standalone offering. They have a backing of a bank and a particular bank which is supporting them. So I think that is where banks, which are also nimble and early to understand the threat of the neobanks, are latching onto the bandwagon and telling the neobanks that, listen, don't partner with me. I will not do what you do. So you do what you do best. I will complement my network, my technology infrastructure, and you build on top of it. So if, again, these are early days for some of these so-called experiments that are happening in India, we really need to sort of see if it stands the test of time. But if I look at the shift that is happening, and there's so many that some of them have already started advertising on the television as well these days, which means that there is a lot of momentum and push towards them, right? From social media, now they have gone to online media and television, which means that there is possibly a shift towards it. So that's one part of partnership. The second part, I think, as Ganesh was mentioning, and that is what I truly believe, not only from a banking perspective, but even from a technology perspective, that no one could claim that they can do everything by their own, right? Whether it's a bank, whether it's a platform provider like ours, we cannot claim that we can solve every problem. Right. Where we need to come in with our individual strengths, look at gaps, and there would be best-in-class players, fintechs, service providers who would be doing their own piece very well. And again, this is the example that I keep on talking about. We all know about Revolut, which is such a big name today, and they are entering India as well, possibly. Right now, how did Revolut start off? If you go back in the history, they started off just trying to solve one particular problem, which is on the travel and the prepaid cards. From there, today Revolut has become this huge mammoth giant that they have. So the point that I'm again trying to make here is, there will always be fintechs who will do one thing at a time, and they will do that very, very well. Right. We spoke about SMEs. You guys might have heard about this app called as Coconut, which is not there in India yet, but globally there's an app called as Coconut, which does SME invoice financing very well. They're known for that. So, but is Coconut directly going to the SMEs? The answer is no. Coconut is going to the SMEs through some banks. So that is definitely the way forward. Now, the only point that needs to be seen is that, do these fintechs, where the partnerships will come in from, will they continue to exist as standalone entities, or will they be consumed by larger banks at some point of time as they go along, right? So that's probably the only thing that needs to be seen. If it happens, I think it will be a little bit unfortunate, because then again, you are taking away, you're sort of creating a monopoly. You're sort of taking away the best in breed provider that is there, which everybody could access, and you're making it your own monopoly. If it happens, it will be unfortunate, but till that point of time, I think partnerships are definitely the way forward.
I will take obviously one or two specific questions about the neobank SME, also partly about small finance bank, because there is a lot of demand there, specifically in the ecosystem, the fintech ecosystem. But Ganesh, then the question comes to my mind is, when we look at the partnership models, when we are going ahead there strongly, there is also people are talking about BaaS, banking as a service. So what is the unique thing that the payment banks, specifically Airtel Payment Bank, will do going forward? Because, you will take a lot of, what you can say, you will borrow a lot of stuff from the other partners and develop your business model. So what exactly will the core models look like going ahead? Not only for Airtel Payment Bank, I mean, you can talk on behalf of Airtel Payment Bank, but overall banking industry going ahead.
Sure. Well, I'll actually just build on what Riddhi mentioned, and I'll definitely talk about banking as a service. But I want to first start off by talking about, the neobank thesis, which sort of Riddhi mentioned. I think there is, for the industry at large, there is a very, very strong unmet need for customers, especially at the higher end of customers, who want, I would think, three key aspects, to fulfill all their banking or financial needs. One, they want a very, very strong, safe and secure platform in which transactions can happen. Second, they want convenience. And third, they all crave for value. Yeah.
Right.
And I do believe that these are unmet needs in the lives of customers, and hence, there is a huge opportunity, for neobanks to come in and make a significant difference. Yeah. Airtel Payments Bank itself, I did mention that there are 30 million plus monthly transacting users. A good number of them, several millions of them, are what we would like to call them as neobankers, because we've got SafePay, which is actually possibly the first in the industry to actually launch a third factor authentication using network authentication to make sure that the transaction is a very secure manner. We do approximately 2 million transactions every month on that platform. We've got, of course, a variety of products. Riddhi mentioned that he went through the sort of Thanks app to see what all features are available. And I would strongly recommend that you go through it and see and use them for yourselves. And the third one is value. We've got, for example, a good product called Rewards 123. And we've also launched a variant on it on Rewards 123 Plus, where you get a Disney Hotstar subscription free. And those are, propositions which we've offered in the market, which ensures that customers, are very excited about the platform. And hence a combination of these three things, these three unmet needs, I think makes a very, very strong case for neobanks in specific, and for us, in specific, to create huge value, for customers by driving engagement with customers. I think that's one part of the story, Amol. The second part, which you mentioned, banking as a service,
Right.
Our own philosophy has been that while we create APIs, while we create use cases, functionalities, and so on and so forth, which help us serve our own customers, our philosophy has really been to embrace open banking in the highest possible manner. So any product which we sort of deliver now, we've delivered it with an objective of saying that can we partner with other fintechs where we give them these APIs and for them to actually consume it and use it to serve their sets of customers. I do believe that that's a way in which we do good to ourselves, but we also help the overall industry sort of benefit by ensuring that some of these APIs are consumed by not just Airtel Payments Bank customers, but by customers of various other partners or fintechs and so on and so forth. That really is the philosophy which we've done, and as we go forward, we'll have more and more and more open banking APIs coming through, which will possibly make a significant difference not just to us but also to the entire industry.
Okay. Noted your points, Ganesh. Let me move on. I think so Riddhi, when we speak about banking as a service, and when the banks are partnering a lot with the fintech companies, or and the neobanks are also getting a lot of support from the banks, I can see a lot of changes specifically with the payment, the credit, and the SME side. So considering all these factors, okay, because there is a lot of demand specifically for the SME lending, MSME lending, and also the payment not only in the typical B2C place, but B2C in a rural side and B2B in a corporate company side. So considering all these points, how do you see the future of banking in India? Because it is going to be based on the technology for sure.
Yeah, probably I'll deviate a little bit because again, you mentioned about SME and lending, so I'll talk about lending. And it might not be right down the alley for what Airtel Payments Bank is doing, but generally from an industry perspective, and without naming the bank, we were talking to a tier 1 private sector bank in India yesterday for the same SME, and the entire focus, believe me, was around how quickly can I get a working line of credit available to an SME, right? And is there a solution? Is there a platform which can help me do that? They were not really thinking about allowing the SME or the merchant to open up a current account. They said we are doing that. They were not really thinking about allowing the merchant to do payments. They are saying we are doing that. But their entire focus was, can I get a working line of credit available to that merchant or to that SME where they can apply for it, digitally originate a loan, and get access to that capital in literally 5 to 10 minutes into their account. So I think when we are talking about banking as a service, and Ganesh made some very important points there around open APIs, around API monetization, and that is what when we are trying to expand. And the example of lending comes in very important, because if you look at a lending flow also, again, there are so many multiple touch points that you need to go through. There is a KYB or your business. There is if you're looking at smart contracts or signing contracts digitally, so there'll be a digital signature. If you're looking at real-time AML checks, so there'll be an AML check. If you're looking at credit decision coming from a credit bureau or third-party agencies like Experian, So there are so many multiple touch points which involves APIs from these agencies, from government agencies to be opened up, right? And that's where banking as a service, again, banking as a service, there are many ways to look at it. But the way we look at banking as a service is that, the individual products or capabilities that are created by unbundling the banking infrastructure and allowing the APIs so that, the specific banking functions could be allowed to operate in a true marketplace model. And that is where the lending example comes in very handy. And yesterday, when we were talking to this bank about this particular use case that I just spoke about, right? We invariably touched upon, so you need those APIs. Where would you need the APIs from? Do we need to give you the APIs? Do the APIs come from the government agencies where you're going for credit scoring? So I think if you look at specifically within that lending piece, and if you look at the different touch points that are required to do a straight through, even let's say, even if it's a pre-approved loan, right? But even for that, if you want to do a straight through processing, there are so many checks that are happening behind the scenes. And for that, something like an open API or open banking or banking as a service is very, very relevant and pertinent.
Very valid points. I think it's a good conversation. I would have been really happy, Riddhi, if you would have shared the name of the bank as well. Maybe I would have got some spicy.
Not today. Not today. I'm all sometimes separately. Yeah. We are trying to get business from them right now.
Yeah, sure. But quite interesting, gentlemen. And I think that comes to a wrap. But before I wrap up, it's been, I think the time is up. But before I wrap up, let me take one strong question with both of you. Considering the evolution that is happening in the digital space, we should not even talk about now digital, right? Because we have gone far ahead with digital. So many layers we have already adopted. But if we take a view of maybe next 3 to 5 years, okay, because a lot of things are already in the process, which will show the result in next 1 to 2 years. But if we take a view of next 3 to 5 years, so what are the technologies, Ganesh, that you are betting on? What kind of new things that you see at Airtel Payment Bank and specifically in the banking ecosystem going ahead in next 3 to 5 years?
Well, Amol, I'll go back to, possibly the three key needs, for customers. And I'll start with customer needs first. I think safety and security as a platform, I think needs to be enhanced dramatically. I think all of us are doing our bit of in terms of innovations, but I think there is a lot of work which we specifically, will do. And over the coming few months, maybe quarters, we'll see a lot more innovation sort of happening on that space. I think that's one, key area where we'll see significant work happening. The second key area really is around convenience, and convenience for the low-income consumer is to ensure that he, she, or they is able to go to a retail outlet or a BC agent and do a financial transaction in a very secure manner and meeting all the customer need states. For a customer who is comfortable doing a transaction on Thanks app or on a smartphone, like all of us, making sure that the features, the benefits, the experience, is as high or as good as it gets. I think that's the second area of focus. And the third area of focus really is on value. Given that we are a technology-only bank, our ability to deliver value to the customer, because our costs tend to be much lesser, because the transactions happen in a very safe and secure manner. There is, some cost benefits which come in, and hence there is some potential value which can be delivered to customers. So I think that technology will be a very, very key enabler in ensuring that there is innovation happening across these three customer need states. And I think that over the next 3 to 5 years, that's where we'll be focused on. And I would think that, any bank or fintech, who is focused on these three key need states will see significant customer engagement.
Okay, I will take the same question to you also, Riddhi. What are the emerging technologies, advanced technologies that you see in next 3 to 5 years specifically, which will, hover around the banks or the financial institutions? What are the technologies that you are betting on?
Yeah, I think Amol, there are two ways to answer this. The one way is, and it might sound repetitive, a lot of people talk about it. People are talking about cloud, people are talking about security, and these are important things, right? I mean, today, if you're looking at really scaling up, you need to go to cloud. If you're really, and I think Ganesh mentioned that right in the first question, that you need an intuitive and good experience, but also offer the security. So security is a must. Data, AI, using data is a must. Now, more and more, we are looking at things around, smart contracts, blockchains, and all of that. So I think these are common themes. But from our perspective, what we have seen in the last 12 months, more than any time in the past, is that banks of different size, shape, color, they're all looking to launch or give a one unified view, one integrated view, and an orchestration capability across the entire organization, which gives insights into customer behavior, along with seamless orchestration of the customer lifecycle, starting from how they are getting onboarded to the institution, and how they are originating new products, how they are doing self-servicing, how they are getting assisted by the employees of the bank, and how the bank is engaging the customers, leading to a higher share of wallet, more cross-sell and upsell. So at the end of the day, with all the technology components that I spoke about, like cloud, AI, blockchain, and all of that, I think what banks can look into practically is launching this one single unified platform. And I'm pretty sure the likes of Airtel, being a technology-led institution, are in that direction, that can provide them this one single view into the entire bank, their customers, as well as their internal stakeholders and employees as well, which would obviously need to be cloud native, code agnostic, secure, to give them the flexibility and agility that they need to scale in the mid to long term. So I think that's where we are looking at, Amol, and purely from a technology perspective as a platform provider, we are also building our organization around some of these principles that I just spoke about.
Okay, noted your points, gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking part into ETBFSI Digital Dialogue and sharing your perspective. Thank you so much, Ganesh, and thank you so much, Riddhi. Stay tuned and stay connected to ETBFSI. Thank you so much.